Welcome to Ride Along. I'm Joe Monahan. Flexible presentations. This is a pretty interesting topic because everybody has their own way of doing a presentation. One thing you'll learn as you do, I guess, a lot of different types of presentations is, first of all, know your audience. Never be afraid to ask who your audience is up front, and then make some slight changes to your presentations as needed. From there, let's talk about timing. One thing that I find myself having to do a lot is taking a 25-minute spot and turning it into a 10-minute spot because maybe somebody before me went long, or they want to get to some other event quicker, which is fine. So I've had an old rule of thumb for a long time when I make presentations. The first rule is you should have a minute per slide as your absolute minimum amount of time to be able to present. If you have a slide up and you can't do at least a minute on that slide, there might not be as much value in that slide as you think. But more importantly, be prepared to do 2 or 3 minutes on any one of those slides. Now, the logic here is if I have a 20 to 30 minute presentation, I can do that with a 10-slide presentation just by expanding the information on each slide, knowing that I have the ability to be able to reduce the size or scale it up as needed. But if I was thinking I had 20 minutes, so I put 20 slides up, and they tell me I only have 10, now I got to burn through those slides 30 seconds each. And honestly, is there any value in that? So if I keep it to 10, then if they break me down to 10 minutes, I can do a minute per slide. I can shorten some and lengthen others, but still have much better control of that presentation's content. So, like I said, rule of thumb is a minute per slide, and that's the absolute minimum because, once again, I can always expand on a slide, but reducing it can reduce the value of the content on that slide. The other one that I would also talk about is when you are considering a slide deck, try to mix it up. We all hear don't do all text. And that's true. You don't want it to read like a book. With that said, also don't over-animate everything to the point to where you might as well have made a movie. At some point, you need to give them the ability to be able to see the content for the value that it has. So now that we've looked at that, let's now talk about colors. So when we have our corporate slides and they have certain colors in those slides, try to play into those slides. But something else to consider, there are certain color combinations that in general people look at a certain way. So red, of course, if your company logo or company color is red, it doesn't mean that that's a negative. But in general, if somebody is trying to point something out on a slide using a color, usually red is going to be negative. Blue can also be a negative, in my opinion, because it's a darker color. And then, of course, green, a lot of people use green as the positive. There's other colors that can represent green as well. Funny enough, if I have a darker presentation, a lot of times I'll use white, like a light bulb, to say it's better, it's on, it's good. These are other things to consider in a presentation to allow people to dive in a little bit easier and understand it quicker by using this type of symbolic color combination. Also, too, be careful with your text. Some people will really try to pick like a fancy over-the-top text because they feel like it gets good attention. And in reality, probably the most easy to read text is the one you want, because you want people to read quickly. You want them to see it and understand it. So be careful about your text choice. And last but not least, whenever you're doing a presentation like that, consider two things. And this is the one that a lot of people get caught up in. We do a lot of online presentations. We also do in-person presentations. It sounds strange, but I always try to make two presentations. One for virtual and one for in-person, because virtual, someone is going to be very close to their monitor. So the size of the text, they can adjust. They can make it the size that they want. In a live presentation, it's better to have larger text so people in back can read it, and make your diagrams much simpler so they'll fit on the slide without looking like it's a bunch of spaghetti or something that's way too confusing from a distance. This is something that a lot of people have been running into a lot lately, is we're getting out more and more, and these presentations, at least that I've been doing, are getting larger and larger crowds. So ensure that the person in the back can read it just as easily as the person in the front. And once again, it doesn't take too much time, we'll say, to adjust the same presentation that you've created for virtual, to just take it and make things larger and adjust them for in person. It's worth the time that you'll put in. I hope this helps. Thanks for riding along.